A post on LinkedIn a few weeks ago caught my attention. It was from Steve Gray, a retail media consultant based in the UK and a former executive at dunnhumby who has worked with several large CPG brands and retailers. And he articulated what he sees as retail media's foundational problem, that networks are justifying their premium pricing with the wrong metrics. Here's what he said. Retail media networks shouldn't sell awareness or impressions or conversions. They should sell reach, context, salience, and physical availability because these are the things that deliver brand growth. Now, this post really ignited something. Dozens of responses poured in from retail media leaders, agency executives, measurement specialists, and brand marketers. Many agreed vigorously, others pushed back. What became clear wasn't that one side was right and the other wrong. It's that retail media has reached a crossroads where theoretical ideals about how brands grow are colliding with operational realities about how marketing budgets actually get allocated. Let's dive in. In case you haven't heard of it, there is a Bible, if you will, amongst brand marketers called How Brands Grow. And that was the title of a book written by Dr. Byron Sharp from the Ehrenberg Bass Institute. And it is based on a ton of research, particularly in the consumer product ecosystem, about how brands actually grow. And one of the core principles is that brands grow through penetration, that is, reaching more buyers, not necessarily by increasing loyalty amongst existing customers. Mental availability, which is being easy to think of, and physical availability, which is being easy to buy, matter more than persuasion or conversion optimization. And so this dogma of how brands grow is what Steve Gray was referring to in his post when he said, when shoppers need or want something within a particular category, they buy something that does the job, is easy to think of, and easy to buy. Brands compete on mental and physical availability, not impressions and clicks. He says that retail media is uniquely positioned to deliver both a mental and physical availability at the moment that shoppers enter a category. Now, here's the thing. When I asked Steve what metrics he'd propose instead of ROAS and clicks, he pointed me towards penetration and new user growth, measures that brands should track not just at a market level, but within retailers. And he acknowledged that these measures will take some time to become mainstream. But despite the many endorsements of this concept, when I pressed for examples of retailers or solution providers leading this charge, I wasn't given any specifics. And so it leads me to wonder if, why is there such a huge gap between theory and execution? This line of thinking about how brands grow isn't new. That book came out in 2010. I believe that the issue of translating philosophy into actionable measurement frameworks that brands can actually use is where things actually really get murky. So I don't know many people who believe that the current state of retail media measurement and analytics is a gold standard. We've won the race. Everything is perfect. There's no one that really believes that. But what I find interesting is for a medium that has the ability to provide closed loop measurement, provide real information on how a campaign actually performed in terms of driving sales, it did kind of surprise me how many people push back on retail media being a performance medium, given that this is really the whole calling card of retail media to begin with. So one comment from friend of the show and someone whose opinion I deeply respect, Jordan Witmer, managing director of the media agency Salt, he laid out how the current systems that we have distort retail media's value. Here's what Jordan said. Retail media gets crushed in impression-based modeling approaches. Because retail media network budgets are usually steady week to week, and because retail media generates fewer impressions when it performs better, Media mix models often read retail media as under-delivering compared to social or open web display. And that's because these models like variation and they like having more impressions to analyze. Retail media doesn't really provide much. So the channels that pump out impressions cheaply, like social and open web display, they look better on paper even when retail media is quietly driving more conversions. Did you know that leading retail media networks drive 85% of their ads through mid and long tail advertisers? Miracle Ads provides full funnel ad formats tailored to both 1P and 3P advertisers, leveraging unique AI capabilities that provide unprecedented levels of relevance and engagement. Retailers who want to capture ad spend from the long tail of 3P marketplace sellers use Miracle Ads in their tech stack. Learn more at miracle.com. That's MIRAKL.com. I got another perspective from Yuni Baker-Saito, who is the chief executive of ad tech company Chicory, who said, marketing has moved too far towards data-driven decision-making. Intuition and context have to matter again. Here's Yuni's thesis. Marketers have become so dependent on measurement that they've lost sight of context and human behavior. Most measurement systems like media mix modeling, closed-loop attribution, programmatic models, these all have inherent distortions that over-reward impression volume and scale. Decision-making has become driven by what is legible rather than what is meaningful. Anne Hallock, who's the vice president of sales at Miracle Ads, the sponsor of this podcast, offers a reframe that bridges Steve Gray's philosophy with maybe a bit more operational reality. She said that the purchase funnel isn't dead. Awareness has to come before consideration, and consideration still drives preference. What's dead is the manner in which brands used to be able to control the customer journey. And she describes what agency executive Brett Starr calls in his book a chaos pendulum. I love this concept. A chaos pendulum where shoppers ping pong between social proof, search, reviews, retailer sites, and physical shelves. So a shopper might discover a product through word of mouth, encounter it via sponsored search, and then convert only after comparing options on a message board like Reddit. So, which part of that journey did the brand actually influence? This chaos doesn't mean that awareness and consideration don't exist. It means that brands can't dictate the sequence or measure it cleanly. Retail media's appeal, in Anne's view, comes from high intent. She says, if I show you an Apple ad in the New York Times, you may or may not register it. But if I show you an Apple ad when you're shopping for a laptop on bestbuy.com, you will absolutely have added Apple to your consideration set. So I think this framing helps to bridge both sides of the debate. Yes, mental availability precedes purchase. Yes, context matters, but shoppers are chaotic, journeys are fragmented, and brands need metrics that account for all of that chaos. Finally, but another perspective from Eleanor Hayden, who is the founder of the agency Verity, who agrees with Steve that mental and physical availability matter, but only up to a point. In her view, reach and salience are necessary, but they're not sufficient in categories where shoppers increasingly buy based on values, provenance, or quality cues. And finally, my friend and principal consultant at Catalyst Media Consulting, Michelle Dooley, shared a simple truth with me. At the end of the day, everyone in retail is looking to sell something, and the investments made in advertising are in service of driving more sales. She also says while ROAS has its limitations, different media buyers will care about different things. So from the perspective of an advertiser, if they're looking for performance, we need to talk their language. If they are looking to build their brand in consideration, we need to speak their language, which retail media doesn't do a great job of today. The current reality is that for better or worse, retail media networks have positioned themselves as media channels. They sold ROAS, they pitched closed loop measurement and conversion attribution. These are unique attributes that only retailers can promise. So brands hired performance buyers to manage these relationships, to set the quarterly targets and justify spend in budget reviews. The shoe dragging in our industry over common retail media measurement standards shows that the industry doesn't truly believe in perfect measurement. Brands are allocating budgets right now using the flawed metrics available. Retail media networks are building businesses right now selling what buyers understand how to buy. And consultants are correctly pointing out that the frameworks guiding these decisions are fundamentally broken. Steve Gray's provocation on LinkedIn was a hit because it forces the industry to admit what everyone already knows. ROAS optimization isn't building brands, and last click attribution isn't always telling the truth about what's working. But until someone builds measurement infrastructure that captures salience, penetration, and mental availability in ways that CFOs will approve and media buyers can action, brands will need to keep using the metrics that we have right now.